All right, welcome to HIT. My name is Chris Ciccinelli, and this is High Intensity Tactics for Growth. And today I have the most amazing guest. We're talking about a high performance coach. You know, and high performance, a lot of people are going, what in the heck is high performance? Well, I got a high performance coach today we're going to be talking to, and that's Miss Sarah Klein. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for having me.
All right, so here's the deal. I know a lot of people are probably going, okay, what is a high performance coach? So can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you do on a daily basis?
Yes, absolutely. So when you think of an Olympic athlete, nobody gets to the Olympics without a coach, right? That's a high performing athlete, the best of the best, the elite, who's looking to win a gold medal. I consider myself the same type of coach, but in the business world. I take people where they are and try to create something where there wasn't something before, and take them to the highest levels possible in terms of their businesses.
You know, and it's kind of funny because when people think about coaching, they think, "Oh my gosh, is this person gonna, give me all the do's and the don'ts? How to really be able to go out there and probably get this asked all the time. How do I change my life? How do I get the
Mhm.
most out of my life? How do I get the biggest impact in my career?" Are these types of questions that you're getting hit with on a daily basis from coaching some of the top people in different organizations?
Absolutely. People are looking for a roadmap. We're in a culture where people almost want to be told what to do and how to do it. But in terms of coaching, I do less telling and more asking. I'm drawing out of that person sort of, how do you see yourself? How are you showing up in the world as a business professional? And what do you want? And where do you want to go? And why do you want that? And then we sort of work backwards from there and create a roadmap together.
Now, do you believe this is a big question I get asked all the time? Do you believe that everybody needs some sort of coaching in their life right now?
Period. Everybody needs a coach. Nobody gets anywhere. You think of athletes, you think of sort of the best of the best. Nobody got there without a trusted advisor. Nobody got there without an outside perspective,
Yeah.
and nobody got there without a strategic guide, somebody to sort of guide them strategically and get them where they want to go. Nobody gets anywhere.
But do you think that a lot of people go through this whole kind of concept around coaching and they sit back and go, gosh, I really don't know if I can afford to bring on a coach because, I'm barely in a startup or, I'm working for somebody else. I mean, this is an area where I see so many people get so, like they get alligator arms, like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can afford to invest in myself. Is that
Mhm.
something you kind of have to overcome when you're working with somebody to say, hey, yeah, you do need coaching. We all need it, no matter where you're at in your life, if it's personal, if it's business, if it's family. How do you work with somebody that, sits back and says, yeah, I love to do this coaching, but it's way too expensive?
Yeah, I say, how fast do you want to get to where you want to go?
Mhm.
And we could be having the same conversation 5 years from now, and you could be sort of stuck around the same place that you're at, or you could invest in yourself, and we can get there. We can get there, 20 times as fast.
Yeah.
And so the cost is up front, yes,
Mhm.
but the duration for which we can get you to where you want to go is cut by a lot.
That was kind of me in the beginning because I didn't know if I could really afford a coach. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
but I've had people that have coached me through going from 1 million to 250 million because sometimes you get with people that have already been there, already done it, or can see past things that you can't see because you're so close to it. It's kind of like
Yep.
nice to have that outside perspective on your business and am I making the right decisions? It's not like you're making the decision as a coach. You're letting the athlete, the performer, the business owner make the decision, but really helping through methodical steps going through that. That is where I see kind of most coaching kind of be successful. Is that the kind of the direction that you kind of have had with a lot of your performers?
Absolutely. And when you think about an athlete, a gymnast can't see when she's performing that her leg is bent, right? Same thing with business. When you're in it and you're so close to it, there are things you can't see and there are blind spots. And so that outside perspective is invaluable and you can't put a price on that.
Yeah. Now, what about this? When you think about like coaching, do you handle every player or basically every business owner the same as far as where they're at? How do you how do you assess the entrepreneur, the business owner, the athlete, the whatever? How do you make sure that you are coaching them to get the most peak performance as a coach?
Yeah, there's a bit of ramping up where you really need to ask a lot of questions to get to know how someone thinks, how they view themselves, how they view their business, how they view their teams, how they view money, and how they view success. What does that look like to them? And then sort of adjusting based on personality, strengths, challenges, and really kind of going from there. So I consider myself a bit of a chameleon, where I'm neutral and I'm going to meet you where you are based on what you're bringing to the table and what you're not bringing to the table. And then we go from there. So I work with my clients very, very differently. Some need a bit of a heavier hand. Others, do better when you're sort of giving them the kind and gentle approach. And so I get to know them and meet them where they are, but also challenge them to build out the thing that they're not. Um,
All right, there's going to be a lot of people that this is going to make a little bit kind of uncomfortable, or they're going to be driving their car, they're going to be listening to this, or they're going to be watching this on YouTube. So I got to jump right into the biggest question that I have in this whole leadership, coaching, what we're doing, all kinds of stuff. Now, I've coached a lot of people in my life, in my career, in business. How if, as a leader, because there's a lot of leaders that are out there that are listening to this that are coaching their team and trying to get the performance out of their organization or trying to help them on where they're at. How do you not take on somebody's, if you have kids in the car, turn this down, shit? How do you make sure you don't take somebody's shit on? Because at the end of the day, that was one of my hardest things of like coaching and getting on, because everybody, you're typically 9 times out of 10, when you're working to get somebody in a better performance level, it's really kind of overcoming their biggest obstacle, which is themselves. How do you work through that with that person and not wear it at the end of the night when, you've like, oh my God, I feel bad for Susie, or feel bad for Betty, or man, I can't believe they put themselves in that situation. How do you compartmentalize, and how do you deal with that?
Totally. So I consider myself like the Empire State Building in the center of a snow globe, right? There's going to be, all my clients are sort of fast and furious, floating around, and I'm steady. And I'm grounded. And I think a lot of it has to do with, and if somebody's looking for a coach, you have to make sure you're coaching with someone that does not bring ego to it, and I don't measure my successes or failures based on my clients. And I know, that I'm a great coach, and whether they are getting the results they want or not, it's not personal to me. Of course, I'm very invested in them, and I love it when there are great successes, and I'm bummed out when things don't work. But I also don't focus too much on the negative. I'll have those clients that'll bring, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. What are we going to do about it? Those are the facts. What's our strategy going to be? So I don't swim around too much in the tough stuff. Everybody has shit in their lives. Everybody has pain, and pain is pain is pain. I don't care if it's a divorce, a death, the feelings getting hurt. We all have it. We're all going to continue to have it. But what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do about it? And what's our plan going to be? And so I think if you're hiring a coach, the less ego driven and the less attached to outcome, the better. I'm attached to growth in my clients, and I don't define that for them. I have them define that for themselves. So what does growth look like to you? If you're in a different place a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now than you were when I first met you, I'm doing my job, and I can feel good about that.
That's best. I think it goes back to kind of what Tony Robbins said: upgrade your problems, baby. Upgrade your problems. Keep moving forward, progression, absolutely. Better. And that is the truth. And I think as long as you're getting your clients to grow, we all are going to have shit to deal with. That was my hardest thing as a business owner in the beginning, because I attached my self-worth as good or bad if my clients, i.e. my team, my consultants were growing, I was like, oh man, I'm doing
Yep.
good. If they were doing bad, I would think, man, I'm being a bad coach, or I'm not doing it, and I'm not doing enough for them. And that
Yep.
was very tough. And that's why I went from, like, at one time I had 50 people I was working with at any given time every month, to now, I have 5 that I'll work with. And I'm
Mhm.
very, very guarded with that, because that's a very tough role to be put in. And I know that's a very hard thing for leaders to deal with, is
Yep.
not, when you're coaching somebody, not get so caught up in that it's your responsibility for their growth. We're there to be stewards. We're there to help. We're here there to navigate. But at the end of the
Yep.
day, it's got to be up to the business owner, to the athlete, the player, the whatever. They've got to take the responsibility. Our job is to give them and be there for a sounding board, bounce things off of, help them, find a better way to overcome shit. Use some of our expertise of things that we've done in the past, or in the past, to help them. So I
Yep.
definitely think that's huge. All right, question I have: how in the heck did you get into this world of coaching?
I went to law school. I went to business school. I have a JD and an MBA. I came out, I worked on Wall Street. I was hustling 80, 90 hours plus a week. And I felt soulless. I did not feel like if you swapped me out and put somebody else in, anything was going to change. The company was going to change. The yield was going to change. The bottom line was going to change. And I felt very called to do something where I felt like it was my particular skill set that was going to be able to impact the outcome, impact the life, impact the person. And so, because I have sort of a niche set of skills, and I've lived and worked in a lot of professional settings and worked in house at a lot of corporations, I was very attracted to this, and I was able to see what had worked and what hadn't worked in all these different environments at sort of the best of the best level,
Yeah.
and then say, okay, I've got this bird's eye view. I'm looking down, and I'm a strategist. I want to get into people's lives and people's businesses, and help them sort of figure things out. So that was my draw to coaching, and it's been the best decision I've ever made. I love what I do.
Well, you've had some of your own challenges to kind of
Mhm.
overcome,
Mhm.
and this was kind of, I didn't know when we first started to work together, but with everything that went down with the whole Michigan State, Larry Nassar.
Mhm.
You kind of want to walk us through that, because you've had this big, huge obstacle that you've been, kind of overcome, but also helping so many other women, and bring such a huge voice to this whole scandal and this whole situation that happened to so many.
Mhm.
And the way
Mhm.
you've handled yourself with such grace and class has been
Thank
amazing.
you.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's a big obstacle that could have really set you back in life,
Mhm.
but you chose not to use that as something to hold you back, but something to propel you forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I met Larry Nassar when I was 8 years old. I was a regular little girl in small town Lansing, Michigan, who had been going to the local gymnastics club since I was 4 and a half. This guy arrives on the scene. He's extremely manipulative, extremely loving, and wonderful, and trustworthy. And the families and the coaches gave their children to this man. And so I was abused by him several times a week, every year, from 8 years old. And my last instance of abuse was 25 years old, when I was an Ivy League graduate and a first year law student, but still so groomed and so confused and so used to, sort of the same thing from such a young age. I literally didn't know better, which perplexes many people, and is a bit of a different topic. So there I arrive. And I was a high performer. I was an elite athlete. I was used to just going, 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 and so failure was never an option for me. I continued with my education. I had an amazing career, all these things, but I was living with shame living with a secret, living with embarrassment. How could you go this long? How could you trust this person? All these girls came after you. You're responsible for that. And so I felt very split. I felt like I was living, sort of my life with my mask on, and then my authentic life behind closed doors. And to marry those two things was impossible, and I was living sort of two lives. Um, and then this all sort of came out. And at the beginning, I remained anonymous. I had questions like, would my clients, be okay with me coming out on this topic? And what will they think of me? And I'm going to be showing vulnerability and all these things. And at the end of the day, it became a matter of, I have a daughter. I have a 3-year-old, and I have a responsibility, and my speaking out, I know, can be very powerful and impactful. I'm used to media and professionalism, and I feel like I have a voice that I have to use, and I have to suffer the consequences if it doesn't work out. And so I pulled the trigger, and since then, it's really been amazing. People like you and your family and your company have embraced me so wholeheartedly for who I really am, and not just that sort of professional work side of me, but who I am as a person, and have seen the value in telling my story, because so many people are living not only with sexual abuse, 1 in 4 women, but people are living with stuff, with pain, and with vulnerability. And so I just felt responsible. I felt responsible for using what I could use to get the conversation going, and accepting the backlash if there was any. But thankfully, I've been extremely embraced, and I'm so grateful for that.
Was there any time that, from a fear perspective or being able to stand up for what you believed in, was there anything like, were you scared at any time? I mean, yeah, you could, of what people thought, but were you scared for your safety or, anything like in that regard?
Terrified. I mean, to put your most personal life out there on national television live was the biggest jump I've ever took in my life. And I understood there could be repercussions and backlash, and there was. I mean, we've been called sluts and whores, and you've asked for it, and you probably did something to deserve it. There's always that, but I think the support has far overpowered that. And I've gotten to the age, and I was saying to a group of my clients the other day, I mean, the less the less importance you put on what other people think of you, the better. You have to be confident in what you're putting out there for your team. You have to be confident in your values as a business owner, your values as a human being. And if you know what you're doing is right, you're going to be good. There's going to be the bullshit, there's going to be the noise, but shut it down. Stay focused on what you're doing and what you believe to be the right thing.
So, we deal with this a lot, and I hear this as I travel. I mean, working with women pretty much predominantly my whole, career, 19 years now, 400,000 women have joined, organization. You hear a lot about abuse, and not just sexual abuse, but also verbal abuse, and how it is, part of our culture, and it's what is happening. Where do you give women this outlet? How do you help them to understand that this is not something that they should be putting themselves through? I mean, look, you were 25 years of age, Ivy League, uberly educated, and still was put into a situation. So imagine just kind of just the average person that's out there, and how do they get themselves out? How do they find the courage to change the situation?
I think so much of it comes down to worthiness, and what abusers are masterful at is making you believe you're not worthy, and making you feel less than. And so these women I see throughout your business and just in general, you can be a brilliant, educated woman or not, but still, when somebody is telling you you're not worth it and you're the worst and you're all these, and they're hitting you and calling you names, it's hard to have the courage to say, you know what? No, actually, this isn't okay, and actually, I am worth it. And so I think it starts with just everybody, whether you're going through abuse or not, working on that concept of I am worthy
Yeah.
and I matter, and I deserve to be treated in a certain way,
Yeah.
period. It's hard to see when you're in the situation, and sometimes it's impossible, which is why having team members, having leaders that continue to drill down the fact that every single one of you is worthy, every single one of you is worthy of basic respect, basic love, basic kindness. And then above that, you're worthy of the life that you imagine. You're worthy of your dreams. You're worthy of hitting your goals. You're good enough exactly as you are. And I think so much in this business, people are searching.
Yeah.
And the business is a microcosm of life, right? They're searching for an answer. Tell me how to do this and I'll do it. And instead we'll give you all the basic tools, but you got that your first 6 months on the job,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
You have the basic tools. Show up and own those tools. And it's that sort of self-worthiness and confidence that is going to make you great at this business and is also going to make you great at life.
Yeah.
And part of being great at life is not accepting anything less than common respect and decency.
Sarah, let me also ask this question, because a lot of people think that this is just a socioeconomic, or it happens to low income, or it happens to this is a widespread from very uberly successful women, all the way across the board, all spectrums, all gender, all color, all race. And this is not, nobody's immune to it. And that's what I've seen over my 19 years.
Absolutely.
But in my whole thing is, when did we stop deserving? And when did we decide to stop deserving a better life and to be able to have things for each other? It's crazy, because when we sit down with consultants, the first thing is they just feel like they're not worthy. They don't feel like they deserve, and that's sad. And we need to make sure that we're building people up. And I think that's what you're doing every day. And, look at somebody that's overcome so much and now paying it forward to so many people that you're working with on a daily basis. I know you probably have had or have bad days that you go through. How do you get yourself out of, in a mindset to go to battle every day when you don't know what that outcome is going to be? I mean, I think Brene Brown said it best in her book, right? Like, you got to go to war, even, in a battle every day, and go to the arena, even when you don't know that outcome. How do you do that on those bad days?
Yeah, it's become something I've really had to practice. At first, I would go into fetal position and cry and sleep for a couple days. What I've learned is it's self-care, and it's surrounding yourself with people who build you up and who accept you and love you no matter what. And so my lows are a lot less low than they were at first. I mean, the beginning, it was very, very low lows, but progressively, with taking sort of intentional care of myself, giving myself what I need in terms of sleep and therapy, and resources and support from people who have gone through similar things. And you don't get that support unless you're vulnerable, right? If nobody knows what you're going through, it's hard to say, hey, I need to talk. I'm having a tough day.
Yeah.
So I encourage all those who are listening, just whatever it is you're going through, open yourself up to someone you trust and let them in, even if life has taught you to build those walls. Take those walls down, even if it's just for one person in your life, and let yourself be seen, because those are the people that are going to carry you through your tough days.
Well said. I also know one other thing about you, and making sure when I think about bad days, you are not a person that I would want to give excuses to. You are not a person that you are all efforts based, action based, and not excuse based. Could use this as an excuse why you're not ahead in life, why you're not prospering, why you couldn't get your Ivy League, why you couldn't be a lawyer, and how do people, right now, if you could coach this, everybody that's listening in their car and everybody that's watching this right now with this last tip, how do you get yourself into being action-driven, effort-driven, and not excuse-oriented?
How do you want to live your life? Do you want to live your life broke, in your bed, crying every day, having a shitty life, or do you want to pick yourself up and go out and see what the world has to offer? I'm a person that believes in possibility. I'm a person that should be addicted to drugs, all fucked up, and never having made anything of myself and broke. The amount of abuse and the duration of abuse and the graphic nature of the abuse I experienced for 17 years should mean, in many respects, that I should not be functioning, but that I had a choice. Do I believe in possibility, or do I not?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be a product of horrible things, or do I want better for myself, my life, and my child? And so for me, it was a simple yes or no question. And if you're going to say I want a better life, then you better back that up with, I'm not just going to say I want it. I'm going to do something every single day to get there. And I'm going to show myself that I'm worth it and I can do it. And so it's a choice. Are you going to make excuses? Then your life is going to reflect that back to you. If you're going to be that action oriented doer, then your life is going to reflect that back to you. And I have to say, in my entire life, I have never been happier than I am, in my 40s, and that is not because life handed me a great hand. It's because life handed me shit, and I made a choice, and I did something about it.
Well, we were happy and we were proud to see you on the ESPYs hand down the Arthur Ashe Award for courage. And you know what? And you coming forward and being such a voice to so many, and helping so many out, and doing what you do, being that high performance coach, getting the best out of people each and every day. I know everybody here at our company, everywhere, that you're able to touch and talk to and help, and the work that you're doing outside of just being a high performance coach is amazing. So for that being said, you would be the epitome of living life by design, not by default. And that's what we talk about here. You've had the pen, you're writing the chapters for your own book, you're heading in your own direction. And we're super happy to have you part of the family, have you part of this company, and have you part of changing so many people's lives here at Pure Romance. So thanks for being part of HIT. We appreciate it. And thanks so much for all you do for us, Sarah.
Absolutely. I adore you guys, and I could not believe in a company more than I believe in this company. And it's truly an honor to be a part of the family.
Well, this is HIT, High Intensity Tactics. Thanks so much. Remember, you've always had the pen to write your own chapters. Sarah Klein, an unbelievable woman doing so much great work in the world.
Thank you.